Well, good morning and welcome to wintertime in New Orleans. Yes, I said wintertime. I understand it's going to last a few hours today. For those who don't appreciate or understand my comedic humor, which I understand, uh, we have been under the longest stretch of heat wave in the summer in my long lifetime. Multiple records over 100 and over 95, as well as daily individual records. So, where I am is at my one block coffee shop doing a broadcast for you all. Hopefully, trying to meet and greet some folk that would be glad to chat with us. And since it's so delightful before the snow falls, I thought I'd sit out and rock a little bit, as you know, on the porch of the coffee shop. They're nice enough to accommodate us with four rockers and a couple of tables. Unfortunately, I'm not able to simultaneously broadcast the audience or the view I have. But what we'll do is periodic. In fact, right now, what we'll do is we're going to, before people come, if anyone comes, we're going to turn the camera around. I got to physically turn the camera around as opposed to having a second camera on the laptop, which, like I say, it's just not working for me as an individual. But we do want to welcome you, first of all, to it's a second meet and greet for resources resolutions. It's about a sixth session, even though this is a lot more casual, not as much presentation as what we do in our evening sessions on every other Thursday. Well, let's just take a scan, and I'm going to keep talking while you look around and see what we're looking at. What my view is to see the nice bright yellow and white French colors of the coffee shop paint. But let's go ahead around. There's a pretty window, and there we're going around. Now we're going to go around and actually see. Okay, and I hope we're live now. Yeah, it's still live. Good. So what you're seeing there is across the street, the lovely homes. Now, for those who are not familiar with our homes, we'll pan around a little bit more so you can see some. These homes that are across from us, and you'll have to excuse the cars because we're on a relatively busy neighborhood intersection, even though only because it's morning time and a lot of people coming here for coffee. But you're looking at a lovely home, uh, Victorian shotgun, and that's probably it might be a double like mine. I can't tell with the tree. Usually, a double because it'll have two doors, one on each end. But again, pardon the truck passing. As we said, these homes were built at the turn of the century, 1895 to 19, maybe 10, before the styles changed. And you can see it's very Victorian. A lot of gingerbread, what we call it. That's all that ornamentation in wood, hand carved. In those days, everything was done by hand. Beautiful cypress wood, usually. High ceilings. You could see the windows are floor to ceiling. That's at least 10 feet, but probably more than like 12, like mine, to the top of the roof. There's more cars coming, so pardon that. But this is, I believe, this has been a rental home. I don't know if it's ever sold. The other home next to it is called, that's a shotgun single as well. But notice how different it doesn't have. It has minimal ornamentation and no railing or columns. And that's a single shotgun where the gentleman's lived there for years in our neighborhood. Next to it is a double white with shotgun, which is rental units. And then a big, long, beautiful, they keep expanding it as they change owners. Um, Mansion almost with a pool, lovely property. You can't see all of it today. All right, we're going to slowly bring it back around across the street of our double two-story buildings on both sides. And why is that? almost every neighborhood in New Orleans from the 19th century, I mean, 20th century, 1899, 1900s, uh, the homes would be, especially at an intersection, would be two-story because the downstairs would actually be a retail outlet, and the upstairs would be the apartment or the home of the people who were owning the retail outlet, whether it was a restaurant, um, uh, would be maybe they didn't have coffee shops that much anymore in those days, but it could be even a bar. It could be any kind of retail grocery, very common. Restaurants and groceries, very, very common. But that was the name. And across the street, it's rented to some other thing, and it's just rented out to any individual on the top. So we're going to turn it around now, come back to this old mug. There you go. And as we mentioned, we are. It is delightful. We can't believe the weather. I've been up since 2, not because of the weather, just the other things. But I did sneak out, and I'm going to take a sip of my iced coffee. Sorry for that rude situation, but I'll do that till I finish. But I went out about 4 on the porch and could not believe how nice it was. Even though it's early in the morning when always it's a little cooler than the sun, we've been having temperatures in the high 80s at 4 in the morning and stuff like that, and there's no sun out. This, if it did, and even now it's probably in the 80s, middle 80s, but the humidity is so far down that we have a breeze, and it's what we call livable or breathable. So this is why I'm calling it winter, because we won't see this for quite some time. Now, we're hoping, unfortunately, as we get toward the middle, we're just coming on the middle of the month, and near the end of the month of August is when hurricane activity or tropical storm activity get very heavy in the Gulf of Mexico, and where they decide which state they want to grace themselves with and do as much damage as they can. So at that point, when we get near the end of August and certainly the beginning of September, we will start having more rainy days, not this extravagant heat and super high humidity that we can't breathe. So it's a mixed blessing because the days will at least be livable, but we'll always be concerned about a possible tropical storm or worse that would be coming our way. Anyway, let's talk a little bit now, give you a little history of New Orleans and why I'm out here. Like I say, there's no one else sitting out here. Now, they're also on the side of the building. They've created numerous tables with a little uh, what we would call a lean-to, but really nowadays it's I forgot when it starts with a P, but a lot of the homes have it where it's framework and in this wooden things at the top, but with air through. Of course, and when the heat, no one's been sitting out there for weeks now because it's been so hot. But there's a lot of people out there besides inside with the air conditioners on. That's where I usually hang out. But I really love a porch, and we have one in my house. It's just been hard nowadays to use it because of the intense heat and high humidity. So anyway, let's go back to what we're doing here other than entertaining, hopefully entertaining you, as I say that very generically. We've been starting since last month, since the month of July, a new project called Resources Resolutions, both plurals. We abbreviate that. Our little logo is a capital letter R, and instead of the capital letter S, we have the dollar sign because that's where the resources and the resolutions are. And then we have a number 2 since the word is, it's like alliteration, it's repeated twice, resources and resolutions. Anyway, enough about that. But the whole purpose of it is to try and form and establish a working relationship, which we call a collaboration, on a free basis, no charge from any situation, which is very unusual, between nonprofit organizations and for profit. And you say, well, why is that so different? Well, because these two industries, and they're very all encompassing, have never really worked together individually. Not individually, they've worked together on a system basis. Look at the Woody Woodpecker here. Huh? Bet I have some. Anyway, Um, the only collaboration that they've done in the past is if a nonprofit would be staging. I'm going to put now the bright sun's coming on, so excuse these glasses, but feels a little bit of that. But as I was saying, heretofore it's been random collaboration, and it's only like if a nonprofit will be doing a gala or some type of fundraising, then a for-profit organization that probably has some familiarity with the organization having the fundraising via some of its employees or members or services will donate monies and or products and services for them to auction off or raffle off to their attendees at a function or online in order to raise money for the mission of that nonprofit. So that's a very worthwhile. Sorry, somebody's revving their truck. So it's a very worthwhile organization, but it's not all the time. It happens with some regularity. What we really want to do is have hands across the water, so that we can't do it in the legislature where not everybody's shaking hands every day, but some type of collaboration individually among their own industry as well as across the board, where each organization will profit, and not in that term necessarily, but profit from not just financial, but from growth, individual successes of the members who actually work for either one of those categories of industry. So we have a well established collaboration of the same two entities. So we're not the first one, but this one's been going on for a while, and it's very formidable, uh, very well membered. But the problem, not the problem, but their mission on purpose and successfully doing is to really improve the quality of life in New Orleans with regard to infrastructure, coastal road, all major target things that normally the city or the government really can't do on its own. It may do partial jobs or not a good job. As we mentioned, we're on a much lower bar. We're working for the good of the individual organizations, which inadvertently will also benefit the quality of life of its citizens by improving the services those organizations offer or continuing the services. So, of course, we're always here looking to get members, and since you know I don't know whether to believe the old business formula that if you don't charge someone, you're never going to get success or participation. So far, that seems relatively true. We are picking up, and because we're doing different modes of membership request or recruiting, whatever you want to call it. But we really want to get more, and this is the hardest part, is get whether it's either one of the industries or both in-person attendance. And why do we want in-person attendance? Bob, you stream all of your meetings at the same time, your sessions at the same time that you have the in-person. So why would you need people to come in person? Well, again, we're talking about a collaborative network. And networking actually means relating, socialization of individuals. And even though it can be done on an online basis and somewhat effectively, there's nothing better than face to face, press the flesh, whatever you want to call that terminology, where you actually sit by someone or somehow develop, acknowledge each other, and learn about each other's situations, personal and business. And with that, in the professional or the for-profit side, not just the professional, has always been one of the big results, say, are referrals, whereby each of the members of those networks will refer their relatives, friends, and more importantly, client base to one of the other members that might be looking, and most of them are looking always for new clients. So if you have someone in the HVAC business or insurance business, automobile business, and somebody in your family or your client, they air conditioning, especially in this heat, breaks, they're breaking all over the city there daily, then you would refer your clients to this member who specializes in that, because you've grown to know him or her and trust them with your clients, so that they will do a good job, and both of you all will succeed from that. The HVAC company will get the funds, and the client will be pleased, and you'll have done your part with regard to satisfying your client, as well as now having a new client of someone else. So that's why the in-person. Now, as for what does it serve the nonprofit situation? Well, the nonprofits are, because of the proliferation, we don't have the exact number. We're developing, and that's part of the recruitment program. We have started work. We work with some of the parishes trying to get city information or parish information on numbers of nonprofits and for-profits in each parish, and then we're going to try and cull those down with help. I can't do it all myself. To start eliciting or soliciting people to consider our organization and the value, hopefully, to them. So, but we do know it's hundreds of nonprofits and double that number or maybe triple that number of for-profits in any particular parish. So we're talking about a lot of folk. Like I said, we've gotten an annual report from both of them, and each one are 100 to 200 pages, printed pages long, but done in the spreadsheet format where maybe 20 to 30 lines per page. So we're talking about a lot of organizations. So if we can tap into any of those and get people to join us to help out develop this and help themselves at the same time as a church. So anyone you can think of, if you will forward to us by my email, and that's Bob at rrevue.net, Bob at rrevue.net, or any of the Facebook platforms that we do, or the Instagram, not Instagram, LinkedIn, or not so much Twitter. Twitter's hard to deal with right now, X. But email is perfect to contact us so we can explain to them the advantages of our organization. We would appreciate it. It would be very helpful. At the same time, we're looking out to different ways of getting the members besides just depending on individual membership recruiting, which is very important, but also these reports. But we joined a longstanding international software organization called Meetup.com, MEETUP, and that was originally envisioned after at the beginning of this century to get people with like interests to get together, whether it's social or whatever, like you're playing cards, whether it's a knitting or political or whatever. They would join this free membership software online and meet up with people of like interest in their area. So just like we're talking about these collaborations. And because of that, we've gotten, not a whopping, but I think we've gotten 10 members in July and part of August already. So that's pretty good. We're also looking to join, for the nonprofit area, a statewide alliance called the Louisiana Alliance for Nonprofits, which originated from an earlier organization I was a member of that was headquartered in New Orleans. Now it's devolved and moved and relocated, and it's headed by the young lady in Baton Rouge. And the majority of their concentration is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, up north all the way to Monroe and Shreveport on the west, and across the middle of the state, and a little bit on the southwest, but not a heavy focus on our area. So that's why we want to get involved with them, but also try and bolster their numbers as well as our numbers in the New Orleans area, so that way we can be not only collaborating among ourselves, but also on top of what's going on in the rest of the state or particular cities. So we're hoping that will develop relatively soon. We're waiting for some information from the head of that organization. We spoke to him once, and I'm going to be following up either later this week or no later than next week. Anyway, like I say, we will probably not go all the way to 10 o'clock this morning because people are enjoying this weather. Not too many people are stopping, and they're stopping in Covering because you can order things online. So the line just keeps going like a revolving door at the doorstop, not at the doorstop, at the front door. People going in to retrieve their coffee and or their other comestibles to either eat outside and the side, or more than likely more of them seem to be taking it to work or eating it in their car on the way to work or wherever their destination is. So we will, actually, I can bring this up again, yeah. So, we will probably not get too many of it all, anyone's that want to chit chat. There are a few times I've sat on the porch when it was comfortable before summer really started. I've made several friends out here and talked to them, not about this organization that was before that, but just in general, finding about the lay of the land, talking to many of these people who are transplanted to New Orleans, whereas I'm a native and been here for way too long. I don't mean about leaving, but I mean to have a pretty good knowledge of the lay of the land here in the city. So some of that I'm able to impart to them, which hopefully they find of interest, so they can know a little history about, especially if they're moving into this area or this neighborhood. And sometimes it's just visitors, just because there's B&Bs around here, and people will walk over to the coffee shop, obviously, to get something different than what's afforded in their place that they're staying. So it is a great little meeting place. Uh, like I say, most people haven't sat outside at all. So I guess because of the tremendous heat job we've had for over 6 weeks now. So most of them are in a pattern of just grab and go, basically coming, ordering online, grabbing their stuff, and going on another way to to drink their coffee or eat whatever they brought in the car or when they get to their destination. But we're hoping a few people come. So unfortunately, I can't take any calls or comments because I can't, with my bad eye. That's why I always, on the evening sessions, we have my friend Lynn who runs the production of the show, and he has the laptop. He can see all the comments and, if necessary, take calls. We haven't been opening yet. We do have on call, when I say on call, like a talk show ability, so that you can actually call if you don't want to be seen or don't. You can, but you do want to be heard, your question heard, as opposed to typing on your Facebook. If you're not watching it on if you're not commenting on your platform that you're watching the program, then you can actually make call the number. Now, it is usually a local number, so even though I don't think anyone still has to pay for over and above their monthly subscription, pay for use of long distance calls and stuff like that. A kind of mute point at this stage of life. Anyway, so if you are watching, and don't see a lot right now, but if you are watching, we of course appreciate it every time you give us a minute or a glance. Uh, and of course, we would love for you to subscribe, because you hear it on all these, not StreamYard, but any of these live stream shows where people are begging you to like and subscribe and ring the bell. Uh, we're not seeing any money nor looking forward to any money at all, but at the same time, we wouldn't want to be bounced, because we just don't have, even though we're doing consistent showing, we don't have enough volume of viewers to occupy space, I guess. So, if you find it in your heart to go, and that would be on YouTube as our main program. You can go on any of the other platforms and follow us there, but we would really appreciate if you go to YouTube, youtube.com, youtube.com, or using the app, and search for my channel, R space REVUE, and you'll see a picture of this face in a red shirt. And then if you'll just subscribe, that subscription does require a little information, demographic. You will have to give your email to show that it's a valid source, as opposed to a robot or a fraudulent individual. So if you don't object to that, we would love for you to please join us. And you will receive, if you want, check that bell, and you'll receive a notification every time we come on air for any of our shows. And as you know, in addition to this program, we have the capacity for 13 other programs. Unfortunately, they're all dependent, guest dependent, meaning we have to have someone in that field or capacity or expert Keith that wants to come on and do the live show as a co-host. Nowadays, people are either reluctant, just like they're reluctant to come in person, or more importantly, they prefer to do it themselves. Since anybody can use a phone now and get online and use one of these platforms and show themselves, whether it's TikTok for that kind of fame, or whether they sincerely want to communicate either to someone else or to the public per se, like we do. So what we're going to do is, like I said, I think it's, have we been on half an hour? No, we'll wait 5 more minutes if you don't mind. And if we have, and I understand if we are off when you decide to log in, I apologize for that. But there's no need to stay another hour. Even though the temperature's nice, I can do a little stuff at the house uh, if we're not getting anyone out here. And like I say, we just thought two things. One, the last show was meet and greet was last week, and it was at 10 o'clock. We did inside, and there was a lot of activity. And I think you could hear us, but of course, there was a lot of background noise because of the commotion between the baristas and the client personnel buying coffees, etc. So we thought we'd be out here and get a little more opportunity of one-on-one for the limited number of people that would be sitting or would choose to sit on the porch. Unfortunately, that has not materialized. We've been the only ones that have been here and opted for this luxury. As I mentioned, I'm so grateful that we have a beautiful day for as long as this beautiful day lasts. We've had beautiful days, meaning if you look at the sky, that magnificent blue and sun, but they've been unbearable for you to stay out more than 5 minutes. They keep talking about hydrate, triple hydrate, all this stuff to keep, because too many people, there have been numerous people that have had heat stroke here in the city, and a few have died um, because of the heat. And I don't know how the poor service people that have to work outside can keep it up, because it really is extreme. When you open the door and you not only feel the heat, but you just can hardly breathe because the air. And if a breeze does come up, it's hot breeze. So that doesn't help at all, because it doesn't. You feel air movement, which is usually welcomed, but at the same time, it is hot air flowing in your face, and that really just compounds the problem of the heat. Okay, let's see. Um, just anything else now? Just if you do decide you want to hear more about this program, especially when we talk about topics, because every other Thursday we meet and we use the libraries here in New Orleans. And like I said, we broadcast both in person. I mean, obviously, we don't broadcast in person, but during the live session, we're actually broadcasting live to any of our three Facebook platforms, the YouTube platform, the LinkedIn, and the Twitter or X. So we'd like you to check us out. Now, if you can't check it, and that's at 5 o'clock p.m. every other Thursday. So we've got one coming up, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. And if you can't see it live, which we understand you might be in traffic going home or something else, you can watch it on delayed basis if you go to YouTube, because YouTube maintains the recorded or archived shows for you to see previous ones. So you might, who knows, you might want to see some of the earlier ones to see some of the topics, because we do prepare an agenda, outline, list, whatever you want to call it, of topics to discuss each session. Now, again, we go across the board, because one, we do things with regard to some of the a lot of the nonprofits are startups, and they need help. They don't really even know how to run a nonprofit. All they know how to do is to offer the services or goods that they provide to a potential client base here in the city. So the more we can do to help them get acclimated to standard operating procedures and how to divide, if you do lucky enough to have either employees or volunteers, family or otherwise, how to divide some of the responsibilities. So that way you can function on a database, because there are requirements just like anything. Even everyone thinks a nonprofit, well, we should not get any money, you have to do anything. Absolutely not. There's all kind of paperwork in the beginning, and on a monthly and quarterly basis, you have to fill in forms showing that you're maintaining a status and what have you done in that particular period, and what revenue, if anything, you receive, what services you've offered. All right, well, I'm going to stop rambling, and I'm going to probably close it off here. As I mentioned, if you in interim, if you want to talk to me at all, send Bob at rrevue.net. Any questions about this, any of the shows, or anything else? We'll be happy to entertain more. Any suggestions for membership or suggestions for guests to be on any of our shows? We have shows on restaurants, we have shows on real estate, we have shows on music, art, you name it. Like I said, we have 13 categories of shows. So ought to be something or someone that would be qualified and interested. And it's not, doesn't mind doing, in addition to what they're doing themselves to promote, to go on a free show and hopefully promote their business there. All right, until such time, which will be a week from Thursday, I don't think we'll have anything else offhand before that. This is Bob Bockelman of Resources Resolutions, bidding you a good day. Hope wherever you have pretty weather like we're having today, and hopefully it'll stay. Thank you again, and good day.